Kiden Eishinru Omoriru, training reference.
Reiho, Kamiza, Rei. Reiho, To Rei. Reiho, To Rei. Reiho, Kamiza, Rei.
Reiho is the word used to describe etiquette, and it means the way of the bow or bowing. There are many considerations to the etiquette in and out of the dojo within the EI world. For further information on these considerations, you should consult with your dojo leader or instructor. For this video, we will be looking specifically at the starting and ending bows. The movements look simple and functional, and they are. However, you should remember that every movement has a meaning. Nothing should be forgotten, or performed without thought. The reihos are performed out of respect for the sword, school, and the knowledge that is being passed on. This means that the reihos should be performed whenever you intend to practice. The sword should be held with the left hand, thumb on tsuba, hand at the left hip, cutting edge up. The sagyo should be looped in thirds, with the loose end on the inside of the loop. The sagyo should be held between the left index finger and the second finger. The sword will be at a natural angle, slightly across the body, with end pointing down about 45 degrees. Push the sword out about 6 to 8 inches along the line of the saya, rotating the cutting edge flat and to the left as you do so. Keep the whole movement smooth and keep the sword close to the body. With the palm of the right hand facing upwards, place the sagyo in the gap between the first and second finger of the right hand. Rotate the right hand and grasp the saya just past the left hand. Let the sword rotate naturally as you move the right hand to the rei position at the right thigh. The saya should be pointing almost directly at the floor, not out at 45 degrees. The metsuke is fixed, straight out from the eyes, and should only drop as you start the bow in the final part of the rei. If you drop your metsuke early in the process, you are presenting a weakness that could be utilized if you were facing an opponent. Although there is no opponent in this case, it is best to practice this level of awareness right from the start. On the command to rei, bow from the waist to about 45 degrees. In seiza, the big toes should be touching at most, not crossed. The knees should be about 2 fist widths apart, with the back straight, the head up, and the chin in. Throughout jikiden, seiza is done with the buttocks just touching the heels, or better still, with a slight gap between them. This is achieved with a little tension in the thighs, giving a light feeling to the posture. Keeping metsuke straight, push the sword out 6 to 8 inches along the line of the saya. Take the sagyo between the right index and second finger, the right thumb on the tsuba. Withdraw the sword the remainder of the way with the right hand, the left hand brushing down the saya back to the left hip. Push forward rather than to the right. With the right arm fully extended, rotate the sword out and down until it touches the floor at about 45 degrees to the body. Drop the tsuba to the floor on the left, pulling the sword slightly in towards you to allow the sagyo to clear the saya as it is laid down. Position the sword on the floor parallel to the body, with the center of the sword in line with your center. Lay out the sagyo along the line of the sword away from you, from left to right. This should all be done in a continuous flowing movement with no stop. Do not make a fuss over it. A strong feeling of respect in the rei is much more important than the mechanics. Keeping the eyes straight ahead, drop the left hand to the floor with the fingers pointing to the center of the sword. In a mirrored motion, drop the right hand so that its fingers are also pointing to the center of the sword. Drop the elbows to the ground adjacent to the knees, but close enough to actually touch them. Do not drop your head, as this exposes the nape of your neck. Bow from the waist, allowing your eyes to follow a natural course down. Hold the posture for the count of 3 or 4, that is, long enough to show respect to the sword and for the training to come. Please ensure that you do not allow the hips to rise during the bow. To recover the sword, move the right hand down to take the sagyo loop between the right index and second finger. Again, try to keep the metsuke up during this process, during embu or gradings. Move the right hand up to take hold of the tsuba with the right thumb or index finger. The choice is yours. Start to lift the sword with the sword still touching the floor. When upright, move the sword in the vertical position in front of the knees. It should be about 4 to 6 inches in front of the knees, in line with your center. Brush down the last third of the saya, from below the sagyo to the kojiri, the bottom of the sword. Then, raising the left hand and dropping the right hand, bring the sword to the center of your obi. With the left thumb, make a gap between the fold of your obi closest to your gi and the next fold. Position the kojiri in the center of your obi, where you have made the gap. Push the sword into the obi with the right hand on the tsuba until it is about 3/4 inserted. Then move the left hand to take the tsuba, then the right hand to take the end of the ska, and make the final insertion by applying pressure to the kashira. The center of the tsuba should end up in line with your center. If you have tied your hakama properly, the left hand can stay at the central position. When the insertion is completed, the right hand lets go of the kashira and goes to the top of the right thigh. The left hand goes to the tsuba and goes to the top of the left thigh, and you are sitting in seiza with the sword properly inserted. Then stand with power and reverence, pushing from the lower back up, stepping forward. To end your training, you must perform the ending reiho. These are the same as the starting reiho, but in reverse order, starting with withdrawing the sword from the obi, the to-rei, and then finally the kamiza-ni-rei. This is how you should finish every training session. This concludes the beginner's training video for the Omori-ryu set of Jikiden Iai. The makers of this video hope that you have found it some help in developing your Iai, in your own practice, as well as furthering your knowledge. By discussing the topics in this production, asking questions, and exchanging ideas when training with your contemporaries, the makers hope that this aid will continue to support your Iai development.